Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and today we have another episode of collecting every LEGO Star Wars minifigure. I know this has been a longly awaited video. It's been such a long time since I've done one of these, so I'm happy to be back, happy to be showing off more of these minifigures. We got quite a few today, and I'm super excited to not only show them off to you guys, but just get them on the wall, start filling in some of these blanks on the wall. I'm so close to getting this thing finished up. I probably at some point soon will do a the figures I'm missing video, just to give you guys a little bit of context and understanding of just how close we are to the goal. But I have to say we're definitely over 90% of the way there. I'm in double digits in terms of the figures that I need left to finish the wall. That is, while it is a fortunate scenario, these figures are certainly not getting any cheaper. In fact, it seems like they're getting exponentially higher by the day, which does make this series a bit more complicated as we progress through it, but I'm definitely gonna keep at it, and hopefully by the end of this year, outside of some of the more ridiculous ones like the I Heart New York Yoda, we can be pretty much wrapping this series up. All right, guys, this episode is going to start off a little bit differently. Before I get into showing you the new figures I got, as well as the minifig wall and then being added to it, I actually need to replenish a lot of figures from the minifig wall. You'll notice there are quite a few blank spots, especially at the top. This is because I had my guy Cult of Christians in basically pull everything from this that we potentially may have needed when we did that LEGO Star Wars 2 collaboration, which if you haven't seen, go check that out right now. The link will be in the description of the video. But what that means is I got a lot of figures to put back on the wall, and I just want to go ahead and knock that out right at the top of the video. So I got most of them laid out here on these two base plates, and I got brick set pulled up. So we're going to go ahead and put those back on the wall, and then we'll see how the wall looks after that. Okay, saying that was not fun at all would be an understatement. Shane, I know why you did this, and I'm not mad that you did it, but I am definitely never letting you do that again. I'm never letting anyone do that again. It was quite tedious trying to place all these figures back on the minifig wall at once. When I do these videos, I'm usually putting, 5 to 10, maybe 15 if I really have a good haul together, but I pretty much did like 60 or 70 figures, and it was just not enjoyable at all. So anyways, putting that behind us, glad to have the top of the wall back to looking the way it should. This actually was a pretty interesting exercise. It made me realize some figures that I just have no clue where they are. Like could have sworn I had 2 Kit Fistos, and I now can't find either of my Kit Fistos. So that's gonna be something that I have to look out for, among a few other less important figures that I need to find. But yeah, it's all looking good now. So now we can jump into the actual new figure part of the video. All right, so let's jump into the minifigures. First up, we got 2 Clone Boys. I know how much you guys love these Clone Boys. On the left, we have a Clone Jet Trooper. This made its first appearance in the 2009 Corporate Alliance Droid Tank LEGO set. The only unique thing about this particular P1 animated clone is it has this white jetpack on the back. That is literally it. There is nothing else special about it. As for my feelings about this figure, I think most of you are pretty aware of the fact that I am not a fan of the animated Phase 1, or pretty much any of the animated styled figures from this show, really at all. I think some of the P2s are okay to even good sometimes, but these P1s are definitely not my cup of tea. So that pretty much goes for our second guy over here as well. This is from the 2010 Clone Turbo Tank. This is just Clone Trooper with black rangefinder and large eyes. So if you're wondering what those large eyes looks like, those are the large eyes. That hideous, ugly, disgusting, putrid animated clone face. Yikes. So glad we are past that phase in LEGO Star Wars. You know what? People complain about modern day clones, but guys, this could still be the status quo. We could still be getting Michael Jackson faces for our clone troopers. So I think we've come a long way. to say the least. But yeah, the only unique thing about this guy is he has the black rangefinder on his helmet. That's literally it. And yeah, these are not super valuable or sought after figures set on the wall. They're just kind of those weird, I don't know, nuanced figures that I just, hadn't collected. So nice to knock those out. Next up, we have two original trilogy figures. First up, we have an Imperial Officer Captain. This is with 2 code cylinders. That is just the name that, the designation that they give it on Bricklink. So this guy is from the 2012 TIE Fighter set, which is, I don't know, kind of interesting. I feel like that's such a weird set. Like, of all the TIE Fighter designs they've had, I think that one is definitely the weirdest looking one. In terms of just standard, normal Imperial ties. But yeah, so this is, an Imperial officer. They've done quite a few other like Imperial officer captains. So I don't think the torso is really unique to this figure, but the face certainly is. Like, the combination of the torso and the face is definitely something that makes this figure, I don't know, at least somewhat unique. Next up, we have Princess Leia. This is from the 2008 UCS Death Star set. The unique thing about this one is it has big eyes. There are multiple iterations or variations of this Leia figure, one of which has small eyes and one of which has big eyes. So this is the big-eyed Leia. I can go ahead and throw up a photo of what the small-eyed Leia looks like. And you can tell there's just, small printing difference between the two. There is pretty basic torso. No back printing on the Leia, but the officer actually does have back printing, which is, pretty nice. But other than that, pretty standard looking Leia figure, and not really much to say about her, honestly. Next up, we have some figures from the Old Republic. Both of these figures appeared in that 2013 Republic Troopers versus Sith Troopers battle pack. This one, the Sith Trooper, also appeared in that Jedi Defense class cruiser. And these figures are very nicely detailed, honestly, like just design-wise, and in terms of how they look in relation to their canon counterparts. LEGO did a pretty exceptional job with both of these figures. Both of them are sporting some pretty decent back printing, and the torso printing and leg printing both looks pretty on point. If I'm being completely honest, the thing that really, keeps me from being like, oh, these are such great figures, is just, I don't really like the in-canon designs. I just think these guys just look way too much like Vader, which I thought was just really weirdly derivative. And I don't know, this is just not an ideal trooper design for me. Just, I don't know, not really a fan of a lot of the aesthetics of the Old Republic. But if I'm taking my personal bias out of it and just looking at these and evaluating these as figures and in relevance to how well LEGO captured what we saw on screen or on the video game, I think they did a pretty excellent job. The Republic Trooper is unique because he is a Republic Trooper with cheek lines. So you can see that dude is sporting his chiseled jaw. I guess there were like 2 of these guys in the set and they had different faces. So this is the one that they describe as having cheek lines. So he's like the handsome Squidward of the 2, I'm guessing. And the Sith Trooper is, pretty standard figure. I don't think there's any other variation of this guy, but he does have a face underneath. He has a more menacing, angry looking face. So we got, a happy cheek-lined dude over here, and we got a like angry, super serious cheek-lined dude over here. And the dichotomy of cheek lines is crazy with these guys. Moving along, we got a couple more original trilogy figures. First off, on the left side, we have Darth Vader with tan head. So you'll notice, remove his helmet, he has that tan head. This was that weird phase of LEGO where they were giving Vader a tan head. It doesn't look awful, but now that we've had kind of like the white head for so long, it definitely looks weird. It kind of makes Vader look sickly, which is really funny. I don't know. It's not a bad print. I think the print looks actually pretty cool, but I think white is definitely the way to go for his head, definitely not the tan head. I think everything else on him, like the torso and leg printing, is pretty standard. He is still sporting the older style helmet, so it is always, for me at least, kind of weird to see, you know, the super detailed, you know, torso and leg printing on a Darth Vader, and actually no back printing. That actually kind of surprises me, but still sporting that original helmet design. This guy came in the 2014 Imperial Star Destroyer set, and he is unique to that set. So yeah, this was something weird they tried in 2014, and I want to say like the year after that, whenever they dropped the Death Star Final Duel set, you know, that's when they went to the Vader with the white head. So this did not last very long. Next up, we have a Death Star Trooper. This is from the 2016 UCS Death Star set. This was obviously the remade one. And, you know, these guys appeared in the original Death Star kind of as a more simplified version. But LEGO updated it quite a bit, especially with this face print. And, you know, we got a newly updated Death Star Trooper. So I think this is a really nice figure. Like, in terms of a Death Star Trooper, I'm honestly not sure if it gets any better than this. You know, the costume design in general is pretty simple, right? Like, there's, you know, maybe could be leg printing, but it's not crucial. When they're just wearing solid black pants, you know, I guess they could add a few white lines, but it's certainly not crucial for these guys to have leg printing. And yeah, torso looks pretty on point, and the helmet as well looks especially on point. So a pretty great figure, honestly. And he does have a double-sided face, so he has this super cocky smile on this side, and then on this side he has, I guess, a slightly less cocky kind of smirk. I don't know, I find it very interesting that they, you know, did such similar face designs on each side. I feel like they maybe could have given him like a screaming face as he faces his impending doom while the Death Star is about to explode. Next up, we have a very special group of figures. Now, these figures are special for a couple of reasons. Firstly, neither of these are cheap at all. These are probably a combined $120, $130 worth of figures, which is absolutely insane to me. But these are also special because these are not figures that I never owned. I owned both of these figures at one point before acquiring them for this video. I had both of these actually in my childhood. So when I was younger, I got that 05 Clone Turbo tank from my mom, shout out mom. And I had that Kashyyyk Trooper, and, you know, I got the Imperial Inspection set from my grandma, shout out grandma. And, you know, I had that Palpatine as well. However, both of these figures have one way or another just made their way out of my collection. I honestly have no idea how. Like, I was generally pretty good with keeping up with my LEGO figures. Like, you know, while things weren't ideal, considering I somehow misplaced both of these guys, it could have been much worse. But I did fortunately keep some expensive figures with me along the way, which is saying a lot, because there's some of them I look at, you know, like the P1 Rex or P1 Cody or P1 Fox especially, and I'm just like, those are totally figures that I could have seen myself like trading away or giving away to a friend if they just really wanted it. Because I mean, especially as a kid, those figures just didn't really mean much to me. You know, I kind of got out of LEGO Star Wars once the Clone Wars started, so, you know, those weren't figures that were near and dear to my heart. But now that I look at those prices, I'm like, oh, thank God I kept those figures. So without that being said, these are two pretty cool figures. On the left side, this is Palpatine from the Imperial Inspection set, which came out in 2005. This figure is unique. It has a unique face print. This is the only time they gave Palpatine a gray face during this, like, I don't know, weird era of LEGO Star Wars when they were still kind of, you know, not super detailed. So, you know, this is the one that you would see in the LEGO Star Wars 2 video game. Yeah, kind of an interesting looking face, I suppose. You know, as a kid, this was Palpatine I grew up with. Like, this was the one that I played with all the time. So I definitely has kind of a soft spot in my heart. But, you know, seeing the prices that this thing goes for now, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, this is not a good enough looking figure to warrant the prices that people are asking for it. Next up, we have the Kashyyyk Trooper. This came out in the 05 and 06 Clone Turbo Tank sets. This is, I think, a really, I guess, unique looking figure as well. This was, you know, a Scout Trooper that was a clone, and that was kind of the coolest thing about it. You know, it just looked unlike any of the other clones that they were making at the time, obviously based off of like the 41st Legion troopers. And it's so weird because I think, you know, while Lego did, you know, a lot of things correct about this figure, the fact that it's like sand green is kind of interesting, and I think they took quite a few creative liberties with this guy, and I think the modern iteration is significantly better. I don't think there's any debate about that. But back in the day, you know, it was just cool to have a really unique looking clone. I think if you were a kid and you had this guy in your collection somehow, you probably used him as some sort of specialty troop because he just looked so much different than any other clone trooper that you might have had in your collection back in 05 and 06. And now this is R7A7 from the 2009 Ahsoka Starfighter and Vulture Droid. Another one of those figures that is just way too expensive for what it is. And I think honestly, like detail wise, this is a pretty cool looking figure. I think if you're a big Lego Star Wars fan, having a variety of astromech droids in various colors and designs is super cool, especially when you can, you know, line them all up if you choose to, or you can use them as just things in the backgrounds of mocks to just have, you know, nice immersive looking environments. So I think that it's always cool to get these, you know, droids, astromech droids that aren't just, you know, R2-D2. And, you know, they look really nice as well. But, you know, this one also just going for dumb prices, like almost twice the price, probably more than twice the price that the entire set that this thing was in, which is totally wild because I want to say this is, if it's not the most expensive Lego astromech droid, it's definitely up there. I can only imagine it would be competing with like maybe the blue one from the UCS Death Star. But, you know, it is still cool looking droid. I like the color scheme as well. It's giving very much Republic vibes with the dark red, white, and lime green color scheme. We have some printing on the back of the head as well. And overall, like I said, I'm happy to have this for sure. Like, this is definitely a cool looking figure. It's just one of those that you look at and you're just like, man, like, why is that, of all things, so expensive? And now last, but certainly not least, we have that boy, Pre Vizsla. Now this is one of the more expensive figures that are going to appear in this series, and super excited to have this guy. Shout out to my guy Aaron for gifting this to me for our nostalgic set stream, and also shout out to Shane for gifting me that Kashyyyk Trooper that I showed off earlier. Those are both figures that I'm very happy to have not had to pay for. But yeah, this is a super sought after figure. This is like, you know, pushing $150, $200 worth right now, which once again is absolutely insane. This one I can kind of understand a little bit more about why it would be so expensive, given, you know, how unique it is, and it is actually a very cool looking figure. You know, I'm not one to heap a ton of praise on the Clone Wars animated figures, but Lego did a really good job on this. I think that the leg printing, the torso printing, the printing on his shoulder cape as well, and even the helmet with, you know, the designs on the forehead, like crown area of the helmet, it all looks really good. Like if I was doing a mock today with like Pre Vizsla and I wanted to include this figure, I don't think it would look like super out of date or out of place. This figure came in the 2012 Pre Vizsla's Mandalorian Starfighter ship, and pretty good set all the way around, from the ship itself to this Pre Vizsla figure. Only thing I would say I'm not super fond of on this figure is, of course, you guessed it, the hideous clone face. Like, this is such a cursed looking face, and I get it. You know, it certainly is close to the likeness that we see on screen, but it's just not a good looking face. I'm sorry, man. Like, he looks sick. He looks unwell. Pre Vizsla does not look to be in good health. So we're going to go ahead and cover that back up, and we're going to appreciate the good parts about this Pre Vizsla figure, because there's quite a bit to like here. And if you want to see his back, let's go ahead, remove the head and jetpack. He does not actually sport any back printing, so I guess if they did want to do an update, like a modern update for this figure, that is something they could add. But other than that, LEGO did, a pretty good job right out the gate for this pre-Vizsla minifigure. So now that we have all of our figures looked at, let's go ahead and place these babies on the wall. Dang, man, look at this snapshot of LEGO history that we got right here. This is pretty incredible. So we've added the figures to the minifig wall. I want to start off by highlighting that boy pre-Vizsla over here, looking pretty good, smashed up between that Sith Trooper. That's also one that we added, as well as the guys from the Palpatine's Arrest set. So I do have good news and bad news about that Kit Fisto situation. The good news is I do have a Kit Fisto. I just was not looking nearly hard enough to find him on this wall. So here's he right here. The bad news, however, is I am still going to need another one to go on that empty slot up there. I'm not honestly sure exactly what the differences are. I don't know if they updated the torso print for the Palpatine's Arrest version. I'm going to assume they probably did. I'm assuming it's probably two different torsos. So yeah, I'm gonna need to either find my original Kit Fisto, because I did have the one from that Jedi Interceptor and Hyperdrive ring, or buy another one, which would not be fun. But it's all good. Not gonna worry about that right now. We got the R7A7 droid placed right here, which is really nice. I want to say that's actually the last astromech droid that I needed to collect for this wall. I'm pretty sure it is. I think the only one that I don't have on this wall, and it's one that I definitely have the pieces to make, is like the original R5D4, the one that came in the Sandcrawler. But other than that, I want to say this is the last astromech droid that I needed for the wall. So that's actually a pretty big milestone, and I am actually super happy about that. Over here, we have a couple figures that we added. We got that Death Star Trooper right here, as well as the Imperial Officer. So those both are good to go. Funny enough, over here, we have that Imperial Officer from that 2012 TIE Fighter that we added. And we have a Death Star Trooper right here. That's actually not the one that I added. The one I added is actually down here, but I actually done goofed. I already had one of those. I don't know how I made that mistake. I'm guessing just whenever I originally got it, I did not mark it off on my inventory that I owned it. So now I have two. So, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't super expensive, so I'm not super annoyed by it. But I'm slightly annoyed because that is at least some money I just really didn't have to spend. But, it comes with the territory when you are undertaking a project of this magnitude, trying to collect every single LEGO Star Wars minifigure. You just sometimes end up with duplicate figures. Not the first time it's happened in the series, but I do hope it is the last time that it'll happen in the series. So that's pretty much going to wrap things up. This is once again a look at the wall. There are some weird gaps in here where I've actually had to steal these off of the wall, these little assemblies that I use to connect the figures to the wall. Only because I've been needing black plates and I didn't want to wait to order them. I just wanted them immediately, so I kind of poached them from this, but I am going to definitely make an effort to refill those pegs. And also maybe it's worth just doing, an inventory of the entire wall and just making sure I actually own what I think I own, because when I was putting the figures back up here, I had most of the stuff, but there were a few things where I was like, you know, like the Kit Fisto, where it's like, oh, I definitely don't know where that figure is, and I'm not even sure if I still have it or if I lost it or something like that. So that might be something that I consider in the near future, but I definitely for sure want to get the pegs back on the wall. Second priority is going to be getting a video out detailing everything that I know I don't have. So it'll probably be a video going over, you know, just those figures, and hopefully, you know, we can get this thing wrapped up sooner rather than later. You know, by the end of the year, I want to have, you know, at least all the reasonably priced ones. I don't want to have any figures under like $50 that I still need to get. So I think that's a decent enough goal, and I know the number of figures under that price is decreasing by the day, but I think that's something that could be achieved by the end of the year. So thank you guys for once again going on this journey with me. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.